Welcome back to We Needed Roads, and this is your no-holds-barred spoiler special for 28 years later, The Bone Temple, directed by Nia DaCosta with Danny Boyle and Alex Garland's DNA still pulsing through every frame like the infection itself. Now, if you haven't seen the film yet, stop right now, because we're about to rip this thing open like Samson and the spine. We're talking spine-ripping brutality, feral philosophy, I am Maiden blaring out over the end of civilization, cult madness, and even old Nick himself grinning in the shadows. And yes, we will be asking the most important question of all, why did they make Samson wear trousers? All hail the Alpha Dong.
You gotta let that thing flow, man. Let it hang.
Yeah, man, this film goes big, it goes bold, it goes big again, all hail the Alpha Dong. And it goes to some deeply uncomfortable places, including the pure horror of anyone, especially in the UK, who knows the real-life monster Sir Jimmy Crystal is loosely based on. So this is going to be a spoiler-heavy descent into the evolution of rage and a seamless passing of the torch from Boyle to DaCosta, which has pushed the franchise into its most unhinged era yet. You've been warned. Make sure your spines are still attached, and let's worship at the altar of the Bone Temple. So, David, how's it going? Is your spine still attached?
It is. His head's still there. He didn't get me. He's like, I saw that dong come in and I ran for it.
You ran for the dong?
Oh, man, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? You know what, actually, whilst we've already brought it up so early, I think it's shrunk since the previous film. I think it didn't look as impressive this time around.
Well, you know as well, it is prosthetic.
Yeah, but like I feel like in between movies, man, it's like maybe it got cold. Maybe it's winter and it's a bit colder for him. You know,
winter is coming.
We all get it. You know, it all gets a bit chilly. I think it was just a bit smaller this time around, and I was not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed. I was looking forward to seeing that thing hang out.
You needed more comparison shots with like heads next to.
Yeah. You needed something like the spinal cord again to be flapping away.
Well, before we get into the good, the bad, and the what the fuck of the Bone Temple, I'd like to do a short reading, David, from the book of Harris and Dickinson. Not Harris Dickinson, because we still haven't forgiven him for Urchin. More scrapper, less Urchin Harris. No, Steve Harris and Bruce Dickinson. Let's see how much of this you get. Woe to you, O earth and sea, for the devil sends the beast with wrath, because he knows the time is short. Let him who have understanding reckon the number of the beast, for it is a human number. It is a number 666. Yeah, that was the bit from the song at the start. And I was so thrilled they actually left it in. But right, you know how I'm always on, I'm going to get into this straight away, and it's in the good. One of my absolute favourite things is, you know, I like a good needle drop, and it's a great needle drop, but it's not only just a great needle drop, the lyrics are so specific to everything that's gone on in the film. So I'm going to take you through them, David. Not all of them, but like, I was left alone, my mind was blank. I needed time to think, to get the memories from my mind. What did I see? Can I believe that what I saw that night was real and not just fantasy? Because what I saw in my old dreams were they just reflections of my warped mind staring back at me. Because in my dreams, it's always there, the evil face that twists my mind and brings me to despair. I mean, come on. You could not write a lyric that better sums up the series and where they're kind of taking it, with like how like the infected view us and how we view the infected in that kind of POV. And then when we're all dancing, in the mist, dark figures move and twist. Oh, it's just sacrifices going on tonight. Can this be real or just some crazy dream? I must feel drawn towards the chanting hordes. I'm coming back. I will return. I will possess your body and I'll make you burn. I just like, I mean, this is one I made.
Cool, man.
It was just, So on the good then, on the good. Well, first of all, the acting, right? This is pretty much the Dr. Kelson and Sir Jimmy Crystal show, with Fiennes and O'Connell just absolutely stealing all the scenes. I mean, in a storied career, Fiennes, as over these two films as Ian Kelson, lover of Depeche Mode, Radiohead, and Iron Maiden, it has to go down as one of his best performances, right? I mean, he's been Oscar nominated for Best Actor 3 times and never won. I would put this performance up there with it. It's just so good.
He's cool. He's cool in this. And you know what I didn't expect? I didn't expect to see his little dong as well. The man was.
Right?
I got to see
Double
Voldemort's
dongish.
Willy. Oh, did not. Yeah, no, that was a surprise. But it is a very good performance. I mean, I don't know if it's one of his best. It's just, it's. To be honest, he's not actually in it that much. He's just there. He's kind of getting high with his
I'd say he's a co-lead. You only have two stories really going on in the film. You have him and Samson, and then the Jimmies.
I guess so, but I don't know if I agree that it's one of his best performances, because the man's got some very good performances.
Yeah,
but
come on, Iron Maiden Satan Karaoke is right up there.
His quite literal performance,
yeah,
as Satan himself, was fucking beautiful, peak. But again, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, it's good, but also it's what the like such a what the fuck. Spoilers. I mean, it's a spoiler podcast. I will say as well, I thought they did a really good job of misdirecting us, because when we expected Coulson to become infected, right? Because we saw the poster, we saw the bit in the trailer, and he's like, oh, and all like red, and we're like, oh, he's been infected, and you expect the worst. And I thought, as it started, I was like, are we going to see him deliberately infect himself so that he's strong enough to take on the Jimmies, and like he might have a bit of semblance of himself left? And no, he was just doing his Iron Maiden Satan karaoke show, which was all good. And what a 12 months for Jack O'Connell playing evil bastards while dancing and singing. Last year we had his brilliant Remick in Sinners, as we record this, the 16-time nominated of all time film Sinners. And this year he gives us the horror of Sir Jimmy Crystal. And my absolute favourite scene, and I think it's everyone's, is the scene between him and Fiennes, where you just get an insight into why he is the way he is, but also that he's so full of shit. And he just uses the I'm son of Satan chat to kind of keep control over those who are weaker than him. You can almost see empathy for him in Fiennes' eyes when he describes, what happened to him with his dad from 28 years later, the first film, as a child. But then Jimmy ruins it all by saying he'll feed him his intestines if he doesn't help him.
I liked how they tied in the beginning of 28 years later, which was kind of like completely separate to the rest of the film until that end scene where you're like, oh, okay, there's the tie there. How they tied it in made it make sense, and then also make it make sense for his backstory, being like seeing his dad basically calling on the dead to take him and to ravish, and then it was and then how a little kid might read that.
Yeah, reinterpret it.
Yeah.
As, oh, wow, my dad was the devil. Yeah, definitely. It's an easy leap to make. I can see it totally. Yeah, definitely, man. It was great to see Samson get character development, because he was just like, he was gone from hulking naked guy in the first film to like much more of I'd almost say he's like almost entering main character status here as the trilogy progresses.
Oh, well, I remembered his name from this one.
Troy Lewis Parry?
I couldn't have told you his name. No, not the actor, the character. I couldn't tell you the character's name from the first film. But in this one, because he is like more of a character, he's not just he's not just a big dick walking around. It's
just that shot he sat there stoned with him and he's just holding it. You're like, what? Like his hands could not cover it. The
stoning scenes they were just so funny. They were quite random as well, and I'm not sure if at the beginning I fully appreciated it, and I don't know if I still do. I don't know whether that's one of my bads as well. That whole segment of how he sort of was like able to like calm his rage just to get a fix.
Well, I mean, I kind of liked how they did it. I mean, hey, Kelson and Samson, the buddy movie you never knew you needed, and you get it.
I'd watch them fight crime. Yeah.
I'd like to shout out Erin Kellyman, who has been in some massive projects that have been really poorly received early in her career. She was in Solo, a Star Wars story. It was pretty terrible. Not her fault. And then she was one of the villains in a really bad Falcon and Winter Soldier. Again, just a really badly written role. And then eventually I saw her in a role that I enjoyed, which was as Knight in Training, Jade Claymore, great name for a knight, Claymore, in the sadly cancelled Willow TV series. And then she turns up in this as, is it Jimmy Inc.? And she doesn't seem as murder happy as the rest of them. And immediately she kind of feels this like a bit of a connection to Spike, this kind of subconscious need to protect him a little bit from the rest of them. And also she's the kind of one who questions Sir Jimmy's bullshit a bit more than everyone else.
She was one of the fingers, wasn't she? Maybe she was like the pinky or something like that, or your ring finger. And Spike was the pinky. You say that she like wasn't as blood murder obsessed. She was sort of more sympathetic and more like toned back, but she still had the She still has
Inverted
the
cross in her head.
inverted
Yeah,
cross on
yeah.
her forehead like they all did. She still had, and she still was perfectly fine with murdering, killing, and doing whatever she needs to do because Jimmy is telling them to do it.
That kind of shattered for her a little bit as the story went on. Like, she kind of saw through his bullshit.
She saw through the bollocks, yeah. Tidbits here and there. And I thought she was... I really liked her performance. So Jack O'Connor obviously was the best one for me. Ralph Fiennes, and then probably herself.
Yeah, it was nice to see her because she's been in so many things that have been really bad. And I was just like, yes, you... And also importantly, David, I was lucky enough to attend the Empire Magazine's 700th live podcast recently, and 3 of the guests on stage were Alfie Williams, Spike, Shy Lewis Parry, Samson himself, and Jimmy Ink, Erin Kellyman. And she actually said on stage when she was being asked about the film, because this was obviously before it came out, so they couldn't really go into anything that much about it. But she said how locked in Alfie was as Spike, and like literally the first time they meet on set, and he was like, yeah, so I think our character dynamic should be like, you know, you're kind of like protective big sister, we're kind of like siblings, like a little bit. And she's like, fucking hell, okay, kids, you know. she goes, I'm only 24, he's like 15, and he's telling me he's got it all laid out. I was like, brilliant. I was like, that was really good. And of course, there was lots of jokes about Chai being naked all the time. He's like, yeah, me and Alfie, you know, bonded, we played FIFA. He's like, with clothes on, you perverts. I was like, and then like, I think it was like something one of the interviewers said, and he's like, don't make it weird, man. Just don't make it weird. It was funny. He was a really charismatic guy. They all were really good on stage. You could tell they knew they had a good time doing it.
I've seen a picture that you've shared with the group, and you can put it up for everybody else to see in the video format right now. Yeah. And there's no way. I mean, it's a good thing that it was prosthetic because he ain't fitting it in those trousers. Those were some tight trousers the man was wearing.
I'll plead the fifth on that one. Next thing that is great, I will say the directing. And again, similar to the issues that Erin Kellyman had, Nia DaCosta. It's so good to see, well, I mean, what a great year and comeback she's kind of had. Because again, she was unfavorably blamed for the failure of the Marvels and had kind of been in director jail a little while for that. And because you well know, if you're a female director and you make a film that does poorly, you don't get as many chances and have to wait longer as a male director. And if your big budget blockbuster fails, cool, try saying that 3 times fast. Thankfully, DaCosta went on to make an adaptation of Ibsen's play Hedda, starring Tessa Thompson this year, that garnered lots of awards attention on the more art house circuit. And at the time of writing, now the Bone Temple was tracking for a £20 million opening in the States for a 4-day weekend. But across social media, the reviews have been so much stronger and it's been higher rated. It just hasn't made as much money. And I think that's down to the split reaction to 28 years later. Even friend of the podcast, Stu from Stu World Order, he hated 28 years later. And I was like, dude, no, go and see the Bone Temple. I think a lot of the things people didn't like about it, they won't have that problem with the Bone Temple. I think all the weird idiosyncratic stuff that, you know, like the old footage that Boyle cut in and splitting the narrative, and splitting the film. This is a much more conventional film. You know, it's much more, here's the bad guys, here's more bad guys, here's our heroes, here's a guy we're not sure about. Oh, he's a hero. There you go. And he's dancing to Depeche Mode in naked. Yay, Kelson. I feel like this film hopefully will have longer legs. And because, again, they did confirm, as we know, Cillian Murphy's coming back to play Jim in the 3rd film. But I wonder if there was a bit of pause about it when they went, oh, no, it didn't make enough money. Hopefully it will, though, because I feel like once word of mouth gets out and once it drops on digital in the States and people just start ripping and sharing that scene everywhere, people are like, what the fuck is it? I need to go and watch this, and then enjoy it. And then they might go back to the other one. And also, like you say, watching the 2 back-to-back, you can tell they were filmed back to back as well. Although there are obviously stylistic and directorial differences between the 2, very obvious differences between the 2. I think it works. Like a lot of people said, DaCosta is actually the perfect person to direct the 2nd chapter of this before it goes back to Boyle again, because it needed to be a different kind of film. I think if he'd done something crazy, and it's almost like having your cake and eating it, what Boyle's done. He went out and did something that everyone wanted for half the film, and then he did something what he wanted for the second half of the film. And people are like, no, we're not too keen on that. And then he's like, don't worry, but we're going to bring out Cillian Murphy. And people are like, you know, is that good enough to get us in? And then they give it to DaCosta, and she does the more straight head film that was a lot more fun. And then Boyle's probably going to do something fucking disturbing. I mean, how does it... Well, we'll get into that at the end where we think the next one could go potentially. But yeah, I loved it, man. I really had a good time with it. And last thing on the good that I've got is the music. There was a great score by the Icelandic Oscar winner Hilda Gunnarsdóttir, and I apologise for getting her name wrong, but I don't speak Icelandic or pronunciation of Icelandic. But it's paired with some amazing needle drops from Kelson's hand-cranked vinyl collection. You know, you've got lots of Duran Duran, you've got Girls on Film, you've got Ordinary World, Radiohead's everything in its right place, in the right place in the film. The show-stopping needle drop of Iron Maiden's classic, The Number of the Beast. Just, chef's kiss. That will take some beating for best image to music match of the year, man. It will take some beating. Okay, then. So the bad, and I don't really have much on the bad, but I feel you may have a few more than me.
I didn't enjoy the film perhaps as much as you did. I think I did enjoy it, but not as so. Just to preface, I did enjoy the film. It was an enjoyable film, but I didn't maybe enjoy it as much as you. I think maybe it was the third. So if 28 years, 28 days, sorry, is the best.
Number one.
28 years is number 2. I think this would fit comfortably in number 3 slot for myself. And I think it is that the complete tonal stylistic change. I didn't really vibe with the whole alphas just coming to get stoned, especially at the beginning. I liked where it went and how they sort of, you know, this is a spoiler special, so massive spoilers. He essentially cured him at the end, and he was able to be, you know, he was able to speak. He said moon. I found it hard to believe that not a single person, when the outbreak initially happened, or in testing or anything like that, did any of this drug testing on them. So I just found like sort of like in it like that, I was a bit like.
My rejoinder to that is when it happens in the original film, it's so quick. There's no time. No one's safe to do it. Everyone just gets overwhelmed.
Yeah, but there'd still be secure facilities, and there would still be, and even offshore facilities, like which where you could test something where people could.
I feel this is more a problem you have with the original film now,
because we know that there are like the parties going in. You know, so I don't know. I just felt like it didn't make a lot of sense. But you kind of just vibe with it, and that's fine. Another thing I didn't really like is that the rage of the zombies was very toned down in this. There was like hardly any rage from
I
zombies.
get what you mean.
You know, like there was they weren't like, you know, these are meant to be fucking rage filled, infected. You know, but there was very and no one actually got infected in this movie. There was like a very like backseat to the cure for it, and then the Jimmies and their fucked up shenanigans. You know, I get that like the infected aren't the only thing to worry, like to fear. You know, in this New England, but I did want to fear them a little bit. You know, they took such a backseat in the movie.
But then where would they fit in? You know, they didn't fit into the story as much.
But you could have any kind of story of somebody getting infected. You could have one of the house members where it took like that little detour.
But we've seen that before, though.
Just because you've seen it before doesn't mean it can't be done well again.
Well, I would say with the house thing, I mean, I'm amazed that they weren't just infected running straight there the second everything caught on fire. And everyone's just like kind of chilling there, hanging out in front of it. Although, like we say, the Jimmies are like, you know, infected killing machines.
Yeah, it did just feel a bit like they just felt, it felt like they had a massive backseat for the whole film. And I didn't like that. I also didn't like that they've decided to get like, I can't remember what they were called, but they were basically like slug zombies. Like they were like the slug infected. I mean, I don't know whether they just forgot about them, but they were just not in the film.
I suppose they were just there for Spike to get his first kill, and then that's it, move on.
I think the cinematography as well in Danny Boyle's was much, much better. So yeah, I mean, it's not to say the cinematography in this was bad. It just wasn't as good.
My first bad is no Aaron Taylor-Johnson. I thought he was going to be in it. Like, after Spike drops Baby Isla off at the village at the end of 28 years later, and then Jamie discovers his note, he runs into the water going, Spike, Spike. And I was like, oh, is he going to be following on? Also, I thought we'd get more follow-up on the baby who was born from an infected.
Because we thought that would be the cure from the first film, didn't we? We thought that would be the way of discovering a cure. I
thought for sure we'd sort of see ATJ, you know, venturing out to find Spike.
I hope they're just not completely forgotten about, and they're like, oh, that's the end of their story. Like, they're safe, they're on this island, you know, that's it. It's Spike's story, which it is. The whole thing is shown from Spike's. It's all Spike's story, but...
Well, what made me laugh as well in that bit was near the start, when you see this guy, like, out, you see just, like, two randos out in the forest, And then you see this guy who looks a little bit like Aaron Taylor Johnson, and he's the guy who gets his spine ripped out by Samson. I was like, and then I had to double check. I was like, wait, was it him? No, it wasn't him. Yeah, I was just a bit annoyed that we didn't have any Aaron Taylor Johnson in it. And moving on as well, I'd say the Jimmies, other than Jimmy Ink and Jimina, I thought the male members of the Fingers were like really underwritten. They had no character arc other than one of them who didn't like Spike because he killed his friend. That was it. There was nothing else to it. You know, you had Jimina who was like with a like psychotic killing Teletubby dance.
Yeah, I mean they were killed off pretty quick as well, the majority of them. Or some of them anyway. And then they were just like backseat. Again, it's like just backseat characters. Another sort of negative for me is that the story in the... So Spike influenced the story in the first film, and it was very much about him. Whereas in this film, the story happens around Spike, and it's not about him. It just happens around him. And I just felt like more could have been done there to make the story about Spike instead of him just being there, essentially.
He was definitely more of a backseat character himself, actually, in this one, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Like you say, this, like I said at the top of the review, this is the Kelson and this is a Kelson and this is the Sir Jimmy Crystal show.
Especially Jimmy, I really liked that, and the chat that he has with Kelson, where he's like, "Oh shit, I thought I was going to meet my father," and it all just unravels for him, and it's quite funny. It's brilliant. That entire scene is brilliant. But yeah, I just felt like Spike could have had more of an influence in the movie.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree with you, that, man. The what the fuck for me, I kind of spoiled at the top of the thing. It's the I Maiden scene, man. I loved that scene so much. And I knew what song was coming when I saw the Iron Maiden album. How many people who love their metal and saw that and I was like, I know exactly what the song's going to be. And then when he comes out and you hear the spoken word bit at the start, I was like, oh, I thought they were just going to cut straight into it. That's even better because the spoken words is so key to the story of the song anyway. But yeah, it's the Number of the Beast sequence, man, where Kelson dressing up as Old Nick and puts on his Iron Maiden satanic karaoke show live musical to convince the Jimmies he is indeed Satan. Mate, I was sitting forward in my seat like this with just a massive grin on my face. Like, if we were in the States, I would have stood up and cheered at this point.
Yeah, the man managed to put on a show very quickly. But it was a very good show. He was
definitely a theatre kid, wasn't he? He was definitely a theatre kid.
I did think, I was like, they already think he's Satan because he wears the ironide on his skin because he's red. And he's able to
dancing with control the infected.
Talk to the Alpha and control the Alpha. They already think he's Satan. So I was like, you're getting a bit overboard here with the convincing them that you're Satan. But you know what? It was fun. So
I mean, he was bored, man. He's like, I've got time. Let's do it. Let's put on a show for the kids.
Why not?
But David, what is your what the fuck moment then? And is it a positive or negative?
Can you take off your shirt, Neil?
No.
Gonna take off your shirt.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh yeah, man!
I just remembered. Oh
the
yeah,
barn
that was grim.
Scene, fucking where they're like, take off what do you want, shirt or your pants? Is it the question, or trousers or something? Shirt or trousers, something like that.
No, she wants him to take his trousers off on the floor. I was like, is he going to get even?
Assuming is skinning them from the waist down.
Oh,
which would be worse. I think I don't know what would be worse. I don't know. Neither would be pleasant. But yeah, the skinning scene, the torture scene in the barn. Oh, dude, that was so... I mean, it was so well done. It was really dark. I loved how you had the pregnant woman. And I loved the fact that you added a pregnant woman into it and you weren't afraid to put her into this vulnerable situation where you're like, holy shit, are they going to actually... where Jack O'Connor's it gets really dark. In
They're not going to go full Manson family.
Yeah, it gets real... It got that... Anyway, that entire scene in the barn... Even the fight scene with the other dude whose character name I've forgotten, it was cool.
So where do we go next then? Well, we have the final scene that brings Cillian Murphy's Jim and his daughter back into the film. But he'd never daughter before. So I have to ask, first question, where is Naomi Aki's character, Selena?
That's another one of my bads, by the way.
Oh, at the end of the film?
I like the end of the film. I didn't like the fact that Cillian Murphy's all of a sudden this really educated individual, considering when the infection hit in the first place, he was the delivery guy, wasn't he? And I'm not saying that he's not spent this entire time maybe researching and learning about history and being a very
years to read
person.
Books.
Yeah, and to become a very intellectual person. But I just feel like that kind of was just a bit like, where's this character come from? This isn't the character. that we left with. This is like a completely different.
Well, it's going to be.
Ultimately,
He's going to be a completely different character, man. It's 28 years later.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like when your infection,
it's not still going to be a delivery driver. There's no one to deliver to.
When the infection hit, I felt like the opportunities for growth would have been stinted. And then
I reckon he's just been out raiding libraries, you know.
Yeah, maybe we'll find out in the next film.
But yeah, I was like, well, where is Naomi Aki's character, Selena? And is she the mother of his daughter? Because you'd assume. But I reckon it's probably literally just a case of the actress waiting to see if there was going to be a third film before she committed.
Yeah, maybe.
Because it'd be crap if they've like fridged her off screen, you know, be like, oh. The final scene, though, like you say, where he's discussing history and politics, that felt like it was very Danny Boyle.
The shots as well seemed more Danny Boyle. They were a lot more. They were a lot more cinematic. The scene of them watching all the zombies coming down the hill, chasing Spike and Jimmy. Wait, no, what's her actual name? It wasn't Jimmy. She wasn't Jimmy at that point, was she? Kelly.
Hi, my name's Kelly. But yeah, do you know what though? Honestly, I have no idea where the third film is headed. I mean, obviously you've got your infected Samson, who has been partially cured now, and I say partially because once he has that, you knew he was going to have a flashback to the train. We kept seeing the train, we kept hearing the sound of the train in these little scenes. But then once he kind of woke up from the rage, he saw them as they see him, and they all started attacking him.
Mm.
But he didn't get reinfected when they were biting and attacking him. And also because he's Samson, he just like beat the fuck out of a lot of them as well. But we've lost Dr. Kelson, who's the only person who could help further the cure. So how does Samson carry on Kelson's work? Or is it going to be just like super dark and something happens to Samson and that's it? And you're like, oh, but there was a cure and everyone's fucked. How's the dynamic with Jim, his daughter, Spike, and Kelly going to work as well?
I hope it does bring the loose threads from the previous, so from 28 years later with the baby and Aaron Taylor Johnson's character. I hope they all do sort of come together in some way in the next film, and they're not just sort of left as they are. And that's okay. That's the end of that story. So that's a separate thing. We're going to create something completely different from this story. But the only characters really to work with are those ones that we've found so far. Unless obviously you can introduce new characters, but it would be nice to have a resolution to those stories.
It's not obvious where the story is going, though, is it?
No.
Which I like. I do like that. So, in conclusion, I absolutely love The Bone Temple. I definitely suggest double billing it with 28 Years Later, because it does feel like one continual story, despite the tonal differences between directors. I think Boyle throws in more weird tonal changes and very specific British references. And I think DaCosta provides a much more crowd, fan-pleasing film that ups the gore and mayhem. And, of course, you have the connective tissue for both of them, which is it's written by the same guy, Alex Garland. On reflection, I would say they are both 4-star films for me, out of 5. But I had a 5-star experience with this because I enjoyed it so much. You know, when he was talking about, I think it was Predator Badlands last year, and I just had fun. It was so fun. That is how I felt in this film. I just loved it. I will see it so many more times. I just loved it. It was that for me is the Sinners juke joint scene of the year for this year.
Yeah.
At this point, even if it's not in a film as widely heralded, that sequence alone is amazing. It's like pure adrenaline to the heart, man.
Yeah. The Samson rescue scene as well. That was tight. I like that.
Oh, yeah, that was good, man. And of course, the film was probably obviously finished by then, but I love the little Rob Reiner Spinal Tap reference from Fiennes when he goes, let's turn this up to 11. I was like, oh, yeah, that's nice. They probably recorded that before that all unfortunately happened, but it's a nice to at least leave that line in and go, oh, okay, that's a nice little reference there. What would you give it out of 5 then, David?
A 3.5.
3.5,
yeah. I think like you, I had a really good, enjoyable time at the cinema, and I think coming out of it, I was like, you know, a 4-star film. But on reflection, I'm like, you know what? There are little bits in it where I was like, and then it sort of goes down a bit. It's one of those that went down and not up afterwards. So 3.5.
Like the Alpha Dong. And that's it. That is our spoiler-soaked, spineless descent into 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. Thanks to David for joining me in the worship at the altar of the Alpha Dong, surviving Iron Maiden in the apocalypse, and unpacking whatever deal this film made with Old Nick behind the scenes. And if you made it this far without having your spine ripped out, fair play. Let us know what you thought, masterpiece madness or full rage-fueled nonsense, and whether DaCosta taking the reins has pushed his franchise to glorious new heights or straight into hell. David, tell us about your inappropriate social media handle that is actually appropriate for this episode.
I don't think long.d at Blue Sky is very inappropriate. And at We Need Roads on Instagram is definitely very appropriate.
Very appropriate. And if you want more We Needed Roads nonsense, you can find us everywhere. We're on Twitter at Needed Roads, Instagram and TikTok at We Needed Roads Podcast, and you can follow me personally at Neil_Gregory78 on Instagram and Threads. And people, get involved with the Threads action. I go viral, semi-viral on Threads. People just love my Threads.
I go
don't know why.
viral.
Semi-viral. Like the Rage Infected, but, obviously calm and respectful. We Needed Roads is available on all major podcast platforms. We'd love it if you subscribe to us on YouTube and gave us a follow on Spotify, where you can see the full video episodes as well as hear us. So remember, follow, rate, review, sacrifice a goat to a Dark Master, all the good stuff. We've been We Needed Roads, and we'll be back before you can say, "All hail the Alpha Dong."
We Needed Roads.
What are you looking at, bud?